Hi, my name is Scott, and this video introduces you to the modifying tools: push, pull, move, copy, rotate, scale, offset, and an extruding tool called Follow Me. The modifying tools will be in this section right below the drawing tools. We've got move, push, pull, rotate, follow me, scale, and offset. So we'll start with the push-pull tool. Let's start with a rectangle. We'll hit R, start at the origin, lock the plane, 120 by 5 feet. Hit space to deselect the tool, and then we will use P for push-pull, and this is where we get to make things 3D. So we get to single click, and now we can push and pull the surface. Since we single clicked, we have an opportunity to type in a distance. Let's say we want it exactly 48 inches tall. We hit enter. It is exactly 48 inches tall by 10 feet wide by 5 feet deep. And now we have a rectangular cube. We can push-pull these surfaces as well. We can reference, so since I single clicked, I want the front of this to be at exactly the top of his head. If we had another rectangle over here, and I wanted the face of this to match the plane of this, I can select P for push-pull, select the plane, and now when I move my mouse to this endpoint, it's going to be moved exactly to that endpoint. Now we've got the move tool. We can select the move tool or M for move. And this is our chance to select, and now we can move. We can just move geometry. Now I would recommend the habit of selecting the geometry you want to move first. For example, let's say we want to make a roof. We can hit L for line. It'll pin to the midpoint. I can draw this line here, space. Now I just want to move that line. So I'll select that line, hit M, and now I'm going to start a reference point. So I'm going to start here, and now I can move this line. This is when locking the axes are helpful. We can now select up, and now we can lock the axis. So now we're only moving up, and let's say we want to go 36 inches. So now we've created that line, kind of like a roof. The other ways that we can create this, if we take it back a step, we can select a line on this edge. We can hit M to move. Let's start at the node here. And now if I hit Option, or I believe Control on Windows, now you're copying. So the copy tool is built into the move tool. And now we can navigate to the midpoint, and we've created our line. Hit space. Now we're going to move this up just as before, but we want to move it this exact distance. Here it's 4 feet, but let's say we want to do it via the method of referencing. We'll start by selecting the line, hit M for move, and now instead of selecting an endpoint or a point on the line, we're going to select a point down here. And as we move this up, it locks into that point. And now we have moved that center line up the exact distance of that line. So that is a way to move geometry a specific distance using referencing. You don't have to select a spot on the actual piece that you're moving. And so that can be pretty helpful. The last part with the move tool is to copy. Copy multiple times. We'll double click this and delete this. Let's say this is a subdivision. I'm going to triple click. I'm going to hit M for move. I'm going to select a point. Lock the axis. On Mac it's Option. On PC I believe it's Control. And we're going to move it exactly 21 feet. Actually, I'm going to zoom out here. We're going to move this mini house 20 feet. Hit enter. Now, before I click anything or type anything, I have a chance to give one more input, and this is where the X will come into play. Let's say I wanted 4 of these copies. I hit now 4X, and now I have 4 copies. So if I wanted 5 total copies, I just go down 1 on the copy. So to do that again, I will triple click the house, M for move. Always a good habit to select the geometry you want to move first before selecting the move tool. Grab a corner, Option on Mac, lock the axes. Let's lock the vertical axes. 20 feet in the air, and I want 4 copies, so I'm going to type 3x and space, and now I've got 4 houses floating on top of each other. That is the move tool. Also, when you're selecting, if you go from left to right, you will capture everything that is 100% inside of that bounding box. If I zoom in here, I'm only going to get the lines and geometry that are 100% in, but if I go right to left, it'll be a dashed line, and that's going to select everything that it touches. Imagine like looking all the way through, so it's also capturing the lines on the back side. So we're going to zoom out. We're going to grab these guys, hit delete, and move to the next tool, which will be rotate. And you can also hit Q. So Q is the shortcut for rotate. Now, just like move, it'll be a good habit to select the geometry first. So if we triple click, hit Q to rotate, grab the corner, and now you can rotate the geometry. You can now type in the angle, let's say 45 degrees, you hit enter. Now this house is turned at 45 degrees. If you would like to move, let's say you want to make a circle of these, you can hit Q, select a spot out here, click, and now you hit Option or Command on Windows, and now you're copying it just like the move tool. Let's say we want it at 45 degrees and we want 4 more of those, so we hit 4x, and now we've got a semicircle of houses, cul-de-sac. Hit space, delete. The last thing that can be really helpful with the rotate tool is locking the axis on different planes. So if, let's say I wanted to rotate this house on its side, I can hit Q, and you'll see that it's green now. The circle's green on this side, it's red on this side, it's black on this side, which means it doesn't lock into one of those 3 axes, or it's blue on the underside. So that color coordinates with the axis that is piercing through that plane. So I can, for example, I could move the mouse, but let's say it's right at this corner, I want to roll on its side. I kind of like manually move the mouse, or I could lock the axis. Now, anywhere that I place our starting rotating point, our hinge, if you will rotate the way that we want it to rotate. So let's say we wanted to rotate from the corner here. Now I don't have to manually move the mouse. I'll select, I'll grab a point, and then I'll rotate 90 degrees. It's now on its side. If I do that again, I can copy it, 90 degrees, 4x, actually 3x. If you don't type anything or click anything, you can also adjust that. 3x is too many, 2x. The same goes for drawing. If I type a line and I want it to be 45 inches and I say, oh no, I actually meant 60, I can type in 60 and it'll adjust that distance if you do it immediately. Alright, so let's undo these guys here. The next modifying tool is the scale. Let's go to scale next. So if I select the geometry and I hit S for scale, I can now scale it at a specific ratio. I can grab one of the ends. I can grab a corner. I can grab a side. You can scale it this way. When you're doing it like this and you grab a corner, right now you see how like kind of I can hit option and it does from the center. I can hit shift and it lets me do a regular, or I can hold both shift and option. I believe shift and control on PC. I might be wrong about that. So those are a way to control scale. It can be helpful. Let's say I wanted to exactly double this. I select it, hit S for scale, single click, and now you can see in the bottom right hand corner, this is a percentage of scale. So if I type in 2, then I will have doubled everything. If I do 1.5, then I will have increased the size by 50%. If I did 0.75, then it's like I shrunk it 25%. Space. We can see here this used to be 4 feet, now it's 3 feet. We shrunk it by 25%, which is 1 foot. I would reserve scaling. For example, if I want this to be wider and I hit scale, it is a bad habit to do this because it's hard to control the exact distance of the width of this here. So sometimes, especially early on, scaling feels like a shortcut, but it can kind of get you in trouble. I typically reserve using the scale for, say, changing the size of a bush or an element of the design that's not critical, like the dimensions are not critical. The other way that we use scale is whenever we import a Google Earth image, we'll use scale. The next will be the offset tool. And you can hit select F for the shortcut. And that's where you're going to grab a surface. It can't be a single line, but it needs to be at least 2 segments, typically a surface, and you just select, and now you're offsetting. And then you can at this point type in your distance, say 8 inches. This can be particularly helpful for when you've got a patio. Lock the axes. You've got a patio and there's some curves to the patio. And you want to put a paver border. Now you can do that. 8-inch border, 9-inch border, 12-inch border, 8-inch border, and then you do a second 4-inch border. And now you've created a patio with 3 different borders. Okay. Then as offset. And then for the follow me tool, this would be helpful for something like, say, guttering on the house, handrails. I've got a couple of plugins that I've purchased that help with those particular aspects, but we can show you how to do this manually. Let's say we wanted to, let's do a new shape. We're going to do a rectangle. What it does is it takes a shape and extrudes it along a path that you select. Let's say we wanted to start by just rounding this corner here. We can do arc, select that. So what we want to do is it's like push-pull, but then how do we make it around the corner, right? So what follow me does is you can then do that. So let's say you'll start by, you can select the tool and you can select the profile, and then, yeah, along the desired path. It's a little clumsy to do it that way. A better habit would be to start by selecting the path. So let's say I want to go here, here, and here. I now select follow me, and now I select the profile. And now we've just rounded the corner of the top of this box. We can do it the other direction too. Let's say we use rectangle, corner, lock the red axis. Let's say it's a 6x6 box so I can control it. And I want to do a gutter like this. Erase these two edges. Space. I'm going to select this and hold shift to select multiple things. This specifically to offset. Hit F, draw it in 0.5 inches. I'm gonna erase this line here. And now we've got this profile here. So now I can select this edge all the way around. Follow me and select the gutter. And now we've created a gutter with that profile all the way around the box. Follow me isn't used too often for what we do, but it is a nice tool to have in your pocket, in your toolbox. And these are the modifying tools. Great job. The highlight here is to be a stickler about good habits, like selecting geometry before you modify it and limiting your use of the scale tool. Your habits are going to determine your experience. Thank you, and happy sketching.